Hi everybody, what's up? Thank you for coming back. It's your girl, Yemi.com. Thank you for joining me on another video. I'm really excited to make this one. I'm really happy to make this one because it is a video I truly am excited for. It's maybe, I don't want to say it's going to be the first part of a series. I have enough series going on my channel, but it's kind of the first part of a movement I am starting. I have been approached by several of my white friends and have been told that they don't understand the Black experience. And this is common, especially if you went to college in Long Island, or that's just me personally, or just like grew up in an all-white neighborhood, and then like, you know, depending on your situation. And a lot of the times it is hard to explain to someone the Black experience, what it's like being Black, why you have anxiety when you see a police car, just the general things. Why a white woman pulling out her cell phone needs to be referred to as a Karen. They're just general things. And so while I'll be doing this with several pieces of media, I'm gonna start with movies. I am going to give you a list of movies that I think showcase the Black experience and the anxieties that come with being Black, and sometimes come with being a woman, depending on who you are, you know, or sometimes comes with being a Black woman. I mean, the truth is you probably will never understand, but of at least the first step of empathy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a list of movies, maybe talk about them a little bit, explain them to you, why I put it on this list. And with that being said, we're going to start at the top. This top movie is If Beale Street Could Talk.
When I was growing up, I was trying to make a connection between the life I saw and the life I lived. There are days when you wonder what your role is in this country.
Now, a lot of people know this movie from the Oscars because obviously Regina Hall, our queen, finally got the Oscar she deserved since, you know, her heydays. But that's besides the point. The fact that I have this movie on the list is a triumph in itself because I personally hate non-linear movies. I hate movies that don't go in sequential order. It stresses me out. It makes me feel like I have to remember things that I shouldn't have to remember, or like it gives me anxiety. But this movie was so captivating, and the main reason I put it on this list, like obviously it's award-winning, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's shot lovely, the coloring is stunning. The main reason I put it on this list is for something that not a lot of movies are put on this list for. It's the dialogue.
But a white man will take your hand. He will carry your flesh to his nostrils. And he will hold it there. He will hold it there for a lifetime. Thank you.
The dialogue is so smart and intriguing and like thought out and like just lovely overall. Like there are certain scenes where like the sister, especially the sister Regina, like they just have this killer wordsmith way of expressing themselves that is also still natural to the character and natural to who the character would be within that time frame. Like this.
That was a terrible thing you said to me. That was the most terrible thing I've heard in all my life.
My father didn't have to slap her.
She's got a weak heart.
She got a weak head. The Holy Ghost must have softened your brain, child. Did she forget that that was Frank's grandchild she was cursing?
I don't think you have the right to sneer at my mother's faith.
Oh, don't give me that bullshit. You so ashamed to have a holy roller for a mother, you don't know what to do. Y'all make me sick.
And who do you funky niggas think you are? She only asked one question. Who is going to raise this baby and who is? Tisha ain't got no education and God knows she ain't got nothing else. Tommy ain't never been worth a damn. So who is going to raise this baby?
I am, you dried up yellow cunt. And you keep on talking, I'll take mighty good care of you.
Adrienne, baby. Can I tell you something, sweetie? Ever since the first day I laid eyes on your very fine person, I got caught up in your Adam's apple. Oh, I've been dreaming about it. And I can't tell whether I want to tear it out with my fingers or my teeth. And if you touch my baby sister, I'm gonna have to make up my mind real quick. So touch it.
I knew we shouldn't have come.
Oh, Sheila, I didn't even know you could say that word.
Ernestine.
Come on, Sheila. Let's go. Come on, Mom. Let's grab a purse. Come on. Come on, Mama. Yes, Sheila. Oh, let's go.
I hope you're proud how you raised your daughters. My girls ain't gonna be bringing no bastards home to feed. I can tell you that.
That's because won't nobody fuck them.
Ernestine.
Damn!
I have never heard such poetry about cutting someone's tongue out of their mouth. Like, girl, you did it. You did it. I believe you. I believe you wholeheartedly. Bravo. Because that, lovely. I did, like, it's dialogue like that that makes me insane for this movie. Like, it is so well written, like, and it's never feels forced, which is a compliment to the actors. It never feels forced. I love Stephen James, so like obviously I just the conversation, and like it's not a happy necessarily ending. Like the fact that he is essentially taking a plea deal, spoiler alert, taking a plea deal for a crime he didn't do is insane. It's insane, but it's the reality, and that's one of the things that I appreciate, because a lot of the times people try and paper coat it or sugar coat it or paper cover it or whatever and make it so that the ending is like all guns and roses, or all at least just the roses, not the guns. But that's not always the case. So this is like, at least he's alive, which is so sad to say, but at least he's alive, because there's so many different shows, movies, whatever, where it's just like, that's not the case. And reality, as we can see every day. The next one is Race. Speaking of Stephen James, we are going on to Race.
People are counting on you. To do what? To get on over there to Berlin and beat those Nazis.
You was put here to run. Don't listen to any of them.
Out there ain't no black and white. There's only fast and slow. Nothing matters. Not color, not money, not even hate.
Running some type of direction, cause the people going nowhere are the ones that are flexing. I'm not trying to be a preacher, I was never a reverend, but I can take your ass to church and show you glimpses of heaven. You better.
Race is a movie loosely or kind of inspired by the life of one of the few people they actually taught us about in like school about black people, like not George Washington Carver or Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks. Usually it's those three, but then they also teach us about Jesse Owens, the Berlin Olympian, and his road and claim to fame. Obviously they didn't teach us enough about him or we wouldn't need this movie, but this movie, again, going back to Stephen James and his phenomenal acting, I feel like this movie carries a big burden for the actors, because it is based on such real events that like some people that were there are still alive today. So it's like that kind of leaves a heavier piece of burden on it, but they do it such good justice. Like there's certain scenes, like I'm like a little bit nitpicky, so there's certain scenes that I didn't like or whatever, but there are certain scenes that hit me hard. Like when he talks about how his coach doesn't have to worry about like black or white because he's white.
I got people looking at me for an example.
What do you mean people? What people? Black people? Come on, I don't give a about any of that.
Yeah, well, you're white. You don't have to.
Like that's like a message that I wish more people of non-color will soak in, because like you may not see a problem with the world around you. Like, first of all, if you don't see a problem with the world around you right now, you're purely blind. Like, the world is on fire. You're purely blind. But even before this, like, if you didn't see a problem with the world, it just was like, because you had the luxury of not seeing it. Like, you are white, and because you were white or a person of not color, you just had the luxury of ignoring it and it never actually interacting with your day-to-day. And that was kind of one of the most powerful scenes that brought me back to it. Again, it was Jason Sudeikis was in it, and he acted it lovely. Like, the acting in this film was so good, and the fact that it was based off of a true story, and a story that, like, a lot of us know of, but, like, don't know the details of, or just, you know, can't picture it sometimes. I think that it is a historical moment and a great movie that you could base off of a historical moment. And that's why I'm recommending it to you to watch. The next movie is American Son.
Man, I'm glad you're here. She went from like 0 to ghetto and nothing flat.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Where's our son?
Now, if you've seen American Son, you know what I'm talking about while saying that this is probably, this and a couple other movies are like the most prevalent because it talks directly to police brutality and what can happen. The difference is with this one, with another movie on the list, is you see both sides. With one movie on the list, you see this is a similar side, but like more of the side of the witness. This is the side of the parent that is waiting for their child to come home and wondering if their child will ever come home. The beauty behind this, not beauty, it's a like a drama, obviously, but the way that it's acted is so powerful, and it strips everything down. The set, because it was originally a play, like just a play in like one room, it strips everything down. The set, the sound, it just strips everything down so that all you can feel is the emotion, the quivers, and Kerry Washington's voice.
Last summer, when Jamal wanted to drive with Jeff to Bonnaroo, I just...
No, look, Jay and I just thought you were being a little over the top with the mother hen thing, thinking he was too young.
Too young.
Is all, but we disagreed.
Too young had nothing to do with it. Shit. My granddaddy was fighting in Okinawa when he was 17. Too young? It wasn't that. It was the prospect of him driving through the deep south. My son, alone with a white boy, driving Sherman's March to the Sea in reverse. Maybe he and Jeff stopped to get gas in some little town because he doesn't know any better, because we raised him to believe that the world is full of goodness. And he starts batting his doe eyes at some cute little white girl. Maybe the two of them walk into a burger joint. Happens to be an all-right hangout. Maybe some guy with a swastika tattooed to his biceps had a little too much to drink. Doesn't like the look of this boy who's poisoning the country's racial purity. But the worst one, the one that always comes back, is I see him getting stopped by a cop for doing nothing in particular. And I see ankle-high boots and badges and nightsticks. And I think back on that night I was 5 years old and watched my stoic mother doubled over, sobbing in the kitchen because Arthur McDuffie had been beaten to death by the cops, and they'd acquitted those cops. And you were a little boy asleep on the other side of town, dreaming of becoming one. I just want to hold him.
The slight arrogance in Jeremy's voice.
I'm just trying to keep the natives at bay until the cavalry arrives. You know? Man, I'm glad you're here.
Sorry, it's Officer Larkin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just back up, make sure I understand what it is you're telling me.
Bitch is totally out of control. I mean, I got kids too, right? But she went from like 0 to ghetto and nothing flat.
Like, you just hear it all the more. And there's only 3 characters. Like, obviously, again, it was based off of a play, so the play was more compact, obviously, but there were only 3 characters, and four, because one comes in right at the very end. But every scene with these characters feels different and dynamic, and again, it comes down to the writing. But this one, more so than Beale Street with its writing, the acting is just so strong.
But throwing all that up in white people's faces makes them feel like shit. And when you make people feel like shit, they tend to not want to help you.
Yes, sir, Master Scott.
Oh,
Auntie Kendra
God.
don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. I'm sorry, Master Scott. What is so funny?
You. Being ridiculous.
My husband laughs when I pretend to be a house slave, and I wonder why we're separated.
Oh, gee.
Leaving me.
He told you this.
Told me. I had to watch my 6-foot-tall son cry his eyes dry about 3 nights running, calling you names they haven't invented yet. That poor child was curled up in my arms like a little baby. Yeah, that's what all this is about. The bumper sticker, the cornrows, it is a rebellion against you.
No, bullshit.
No, honey, it's not bullshit. It's called the science of human psychology. This is what young men do when the person they have modeled their whole identity and moral code over, what is the clinical term? Fucks over his family.
Kenny,
He hates you right now. And for the first time in his life, he hates being half white. I told you I am not happy about the goddamn bumper sticker or the cornrows or the baggy pants, but it is just a phase he will get over, hopefully a short one. I am just trying to help him reassemble a very fragile identity, an identity that you busted into pieces when you walked out that door. So get off my back about this, because you don't get to take the high road here.
So basically it's this this biracial boy goes missing in the middle of the night, and a mother is wondering. She hears that her son's car has been flagged because it was stopped by the police or some other thing, and he had left the house at night with the car. So it's her biracial son, so she's black, Kerry Washington, and her husband's white, and it's kind of, you see this this back and forth, like the Joyner Lucas video, where some people like this, some people don't. It definitely was attention grabbing. So it's that Joyner Lucas kind of feel where it's like, here's one side, here's the other. And unlike that one, I think it's almost better, because that are two sides of the coin that are very extreme. And this is 2 sides of the coin that were so mild. They were able to be married and make a child, but are still so different. There's this line that she talks about when he says something in a southern twang. And as someone who lived in Maryland her whole life, some people sometimes had that southern twang because they came from Virginia and then moved upward, or literally from the South and came up. So some people say knee high, you hear that southern twang, and it's the Mark Twain argument, that how come you with your white privilege can have a book with nothing but grammatical errors and literally in the words of a beautiful poet, a book of nothing but grammatical errors, and it be considered a masterpiece. But Maya Angelou's poems have grammatical errors and are considered unworthy of learning because of its grammatical errors. Like, it's like, so he like speaks with a southern twang, or sometimes uses southern dialect, and it annoys her so much because she is an English professor, she's a PhD holder, and she's like, I had to knock that out of me. I had to teach our son to knock it out of him so that he would fit into your world, into this shape box that the world has put him in, and that is necessary to survive.
Look, all's I'm saying.
All you're saying. All is not plural. It's not a possessive. There's no such word as alls. Just all.
Seriously?
Jamal doesn't ask a question. He doesn't speak Ebonics. You don't get to speak white trash.
Oh, Christ. Kendra.
All's I'm saying, a whole nother. Just purge that shit.
I'm sorry, a whole nother?
Yeah, the current situation is probably a whole nother thing.
Sweet sweating Jesus,
the word
Kendra.
Is another. One word.
Okay.
Don't go shoving the word whole in the middle of it.
Can we not just go off in the weeds?
This isn't off in the weeds. You know how I killed myself to make sure Jamal speaks proper English.
Yeah, believe me,
okay?
I know, yeah.
Good.
I mean, you just said ain't 2 seconds ago, but I ain't allowed to. That makes perfect sense.
I said ain't for emphasis. You just speak bad English.
Jesus, it's like every little thing with you.
No, this isn't every little thing. As hard as I worked to make him fit in, it is a slap in my face when you cavalierly lapse into Ogie from Muskogee.
And I relate to that very heavy because, again, I say it all the time. Like, even my friends who watch this video are like, you don't talk like that. And, like, yeah, I have a different voice for when I'm talking on YouTube, or a different voice for when I'm talking in the office, or a different voice when I'm with my friends, or even with my friends. Like, if I'm with my friends from DC versus my friends from where I went to school in Long Island, my voice sounds completely different no matter what the scenario. And so that, like, really hit home to me. It's just a generally beautiful watch, like, so stripped down, so emotional, like this. It's like raining. It's just...
At that moment, Jamal Connor exits the vehicle in an apparent effort to place his hands on the hood of the car.
No.
It's wet. He may have slipped as Jarvis Bell simultaneously begins to stand up and take flight. The officer, now confronted with all three vehicle occupants, one of whom has a warrant, and not having searched the vehicle for a possible weapon, fires 3 shots at the fleeing suspect. Either a stray shot or a ricochet, we don't know which yet. Strikes Jamal Connor in the head, killing him instantly. I am terribly sorry for your loss.
And like the subtleties, you see so many subtleties because there's so much less on the screen. Next up is Hidden Figures.
We go from being our father's daughters to our husband's wives to our baby's mothers.
That's John Glenn.
What do you ladies do for NASA?
Calculate launch and landing, sir.
Engineering. And I'm proud as the devil to be working with you.
How could you possibly be ogling these white men?
It's equal rights. I have the right to see fine in every color.
Unlike American Son, it was like a little bit lighter. And unlike Race, I mean, it was just generally a little bit lighter than American Son. Like, that was shot in the dark and this was shot in the light. So, like, physically lighter. But, like, it told the story of Catherine, who was basically NASA's first black human computer. She's not the first black human computer. Let me correct myself. She was a human computer at NASA at the time where computers were people. Yes, I know, confusing. But the math was done by hand by these women, usually. Sometimes it was men, but it was mostly women that would do it. And they called the black women who did it colored computers. There was a woman who was so bright and so intelligent that they eventually hired her to help with the first like the whole landing of the moon and the first orbit around like the first orbit into outer space, basically. So it told her story, and like like her story at work. Jim Parsons in it. Our queen Taraji P. Henson's in it. Like, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, Janelle Monáe's in it. There's a stacked heavy cast full of phenomenal actors. I saw this one and I feel like I felt so much closer to this one because I saw it in the movies with my sisters and we were just like, yes, do it. Yes, girl, you do it for everyone who couldn't. So that was like a beautiful feeling to feel. But like she was also really, the way that Taraji plays her characters are always really real and really grounded in the world. So like everybody knows the water scene. Everybody knows the bathroom scene. Like, if you've heard of this movie, you know the bathroom scene where Taraji talks about, like, she's like, he asked her, like, where does she go every day? And she's like, I go to the bathroom. There's no bathroom for colors here. There's no bathroom for colors anywhere within a walking distance here. I can't take the cars. I'm in a skirt, heels, no string of pearls because you don't pay me enough to wear pearls. I can't drink, like, I drink the coffee and people throw the coffee out because they don't want to drink off of a color person. Like, it's too much.
You mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that? I have to walk to Timbuktu just to relieve myself. And I can't use one of the handy bikes. Picture that, Mr. Harrison. My uniform, skirt below my knees, my heels, and a simple string of pearls. Well, I don't own pearls. Lord knows you don't pay colors enough to afford pearls. And I work like a dog, day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch.
And like she really just explodes and comes to a head, and it's like it's just so powerful. And the thing about this movie is that it's not just her who's powerful, it's all of the other characters as well. Janelle Monáe becomes one of the first women engineer. Like it's just inspiring and lovely and just like beautiful, and just a beautiful depiction of history. And like history is sad, in the words of Stephen Lim, in the words of Puppet History on Watchers, history is sad. So when you have this moment where history isn't so sad, yes, it is obviously sad inherently because of the time period that they are living in, but it's not so miserable, and it's a little bit inspiring. It's just something to hold on to, and that's why I wanted to put it on this list, because I feel like it shows not only the tribulations but the triumphs. I'm not trying to show that at a disproportionate rate, so we're gonna go to our next one, which is a miserable one, and it is called When They See Us.
Your son was involved in a rape in Central Park.
What? No, wait a minute. Wait a second. They saw you rape the lady.
I didn't see a lady or hit anyone.
I didn't see any lady. Kevin.
I didn't see any lady.
I want to see my son right now. Right now.
Whatever they said I did, I didn't.
When They See Us, if you haven't heard of this film on if you haven't heard of this series on Netflix, I urge you to stop the video where it is right now, go back and watch it right now, fresh eyes, and then come back. Obviously I want you to come back. You don't have to. I'm not gonna force you, but like you should definitely come back to hear what I'm gonna say about it, and go. There's nothing I could really say or put into words to describe how powerful this is. Ava does a beautiful job of depicting a miserable situation, of depicting just how unjust this world actually is in a modern era, because this wasn't long ago. And none of these events are really long ago if you think about it, but like this particular event wasn't long ago. It tells a story of raping of a woman, but how instead of actually finding her killer, actually finding the person who assaulted her, they decide to pin it on several young black men who had nothing to do with the situation.
Why are you doing us like this?
What other way they ever do us?
It kind of like has this air of hope. I was gonna say hopefulness. No, helplessness, as you see how they are broken down and beaten by the system that is supposed to protect us. Essentially, it is an insane mind fuck, if I'm being very honest. And I don't have any exact words to talk about how much emotion I felt being connected to these characters that, like, again, are based off of a real life situation that actually freaking happened, and it's insane to me. Yeah, so that's really all I can say about it without spoiling anything, because this is something I cannot spoil. This is something you need to sit down and watch to understand. The next one and the last one we're going to talk about, maybe I'll do a part 2, but the last one we're going to talk about today is The Hate You Give.
It's about more than just Khalil. It's about black people, poor people, everybody at the bottom. I need to speak for him.
You to think we could never achieve the inconceivable. We don't belong, but we here unbelievable.
When you ready to talk, you talk. Don't ever let nobody make you be quiet.
So, The Hate You Give is the story. Okay, basically it is... I'm going to start with the good part. The good part is... it is starring some interesting characters that I would have never put in a movie together. That's new and fun and funky and fresh. Stars Amandla, who plays our main character. She has a half-brother named Seven, who is played by my future husband, Lamar Johnson. Not my actual future husband, but love him. She has a boyfriend who is Archie from Riverdale, which is weird. She has a best friend who is Sabrina Carpenter, so you may know her from the likes of Girl Meets World or Work It, or her hit song Sue Me, but look so pretty tonight. Anyways, and then there are also some more notable actual adult actors like Common and such that are in the film. And of course my favorite, I was gonna call him Ant-Man, my bad. And of course the new Captain America is also in the film. With that being said, again, heavy with the great actors, great acting, emotional. It comes around, it talks about basically the story. It's based off of a book. I read the book was amazing. My sister made me read it in our sister book club. It was amazing. Then I went to watch it with my sister, and she proceeded to talk about how if anything ever happened to us like that, she would burn the world down. And I was like, oh my God, you love me. Oh my God, that's so nice. But also, please don't do that. Basically, it comes around the situation of, again, police brutality, where a young girl is driving with her friend, and they get pulled over by the police. And he picks up his hairbrush and is promptly killed to death before her eyes. She goes to see him and be with him in his last moments, essentially, what they become, and is yelled at to get down on the ground. It's a very traumatic situation. The scene is shot in a very traumatic way. I felt it in my bones when I saw the scene. It was very, very it was very hard hitting. Like, I liked the way they shot that. It basically just tells her duality of life. When she's at school, she's one person. When she's at home, she's a different person. Having to whitewash yourself for the masses, and then having to actually, sometimes amp your blackness up to fit into the scenario. And then it kind of just goes, you follow her through this trauma of seeing her friend since childhood shot and dead before her, and the things that they're saying after he's died.
He was a drug dealer. Someone was probably gonna kill him eventually.
Are you serious, Haley?
Yes. The officer did see a weapon.
He saw a hairbrush.
That looked like a weapon.
What's this in my hand right now? You gonna tell me that this looks like a weapon?
In his hand, yes.
Yeah.
Because you think that his life matters more than the person that you said you were protesting for. That's a problem.
Calling him a gangbanger, why he could have been shot, trying to figure out, trying to just find justice in all of it is what she's trying to do, and she can't because there is none. There's literally no justice in what has happened. It ends with her giving this big, beautiful speech, which is just like really emotional, really lovely. There are some scenes that are just really hard-hitting. This is actually the movie that made me want to make this list, because there's just some scenes that are really hard-hitting, like when her friend was like, oh, he was like, it could have looked like a gun in his hand, and she kind of like demonstrates if a hairbrush looks like a gun in her hand.
What about in my hand? Huh? Huh? Does it look like a weapon? Does it look like a weapon? No! Get on the ground! No! Down on the ground before I shoot you! Don't move! Don't move before I shoot you with it! What the hell did I just say? Don't move! Haley! Look at me and stop crying! That's what it's like!
She starts whipping around the girl, and I was like, hit her! The badness, and he was like, smack her with a hairbrush. She's like, beat her with it, but don't wanting her to get expelled, so I'm glad she didn't beat her with it. Spoiler. But you kind of see this like kind of semi-realistic portrayal of what it is to be a black person in a white situation, and a black person in a black situation, and a black person in a terrible situation. And I highly recommend it. Mandela acts her little butt off. Love it. Love that she acted her little butt off like that. It was great. Her speeches were always clear. The dialogue got a little corny sometimes.
Guess I ain't set a good example of a black man for you.
No, you didn't. You set a good example of what a man should be. Duh. BHUGLIFE. This is it. The hate you give little infants F's everybody. Look at Sakani. He's the little infant. The result of hate. And he's about to fuck everybody.
Especially when it came to her white friends.
Okay, if someone tries to do some shit to my girl, I have to get him.
I'm serious, though. I will go after him. I will kick his ass. I do not care. If you just say the word.
Haley must have watched Straight Outta Compton again last night.
It felt like it was just a little weird, and like again, like it was a little finicky sometimes. But then the dialogue with her father was always on point.
Maverick Carter, sound familiar? Go back inside now.
No, thank you, officer. I will wait right here until you release my husband.
I said go back inside.
No,
sir. My father didn't do anything wrong. Show me your ID.
He is a child. Do you want to see his school ID or his learner's permit?
Ma'am, go back inside now.
He didn't do anything.
All right, that's it.
I know you saw that car drive. I know you saw that car drive. I'm talking to him. No. Connie, go inside.
Put that down now.
I have a right to record this.
He has this speech where he talks to his kids by any means necessary. They basically have to recite these rules that they need to learn from a young age.
Stop crying and say it.
We want an immediate end to police brutality.
Finish it.
In the murder of black people and people of color and oppressed people.
By what means?
By any means necessary.
By what means?
By any means necessary.
By what means?
By any means necessary.
So why you gonna be quiet? What does that say?
Reasons to live give reasons to die.
Yeah. You, your brothers, and your mother are my reasons to live and die. I gave each of you power in your names. 7 Perfection, Starlight, Sakani Joy. Use it. So when you're ready to talk, you talk. Don't ever let nobody make you be quiet.
And it also talks about the conversation that you as a black parent, that I got that conversation, you as a black parent need to have with your child when they're at a young age, to let them know that they can't, like, they aren't the same as all the little other kids on the playground. Like, if a cop asks you to put your hands up, you put your hands up. You don't ask any questions. You don't do anything. You don't make any sudden movements, because automatically your skin color is seen as a threat. Your skin color is the same, essentially, as a white man holding a gun. So, yeah, so that is, and then the fact of the matter is that she grew up with this guy who passed away, and then her best friend also, when she was younger, passed away, built and born in tragedy. There's this scene with her brother at the end.
Come get some, man! Come on!
Leave my daddy alone!
Sakani dropped the gun. Sakani.
That is just so powerful. It ends really happy. It ends different than the book, and it ends kind of happy, in kind of similar scenarios. But I would change the ending. Not like to make it end in tragedy, but like justice or something. I don't know. But with that being said, those are the movies I recommend for you today. I hope that this helps in any way that it can. This is not by any means a list of things for you to just completely understand, but it's like being black. Yeah, I watched these movies and now I'm black. No, that's not what this is. This is a stepping stone for those of you who have completely no knowledge and don't understand why your whiteness is in fact a privilege. So,
woo! Sorry about that one.
That being said, I'm Yummy.com. Thank you for joining me, my internet friends. Don't worry, I will be back, so stay tuned.